Now, I will take you through the LAKSHYA Sales Administrator module, where the sales related activities are being set and defined. So again, once the settings is done, you can click on user, login, type in the username and password. Once logged in, all the buttons will be active. You can click on definition. The first thing which is being done is definition of territories. We have already defined the regions and location in the global admin. Now here you are grouping the regions to form a territory. Suppose you want to add a new territory, click on the add button. Select all the regions or single or multiple you want to club in to form a territory. If multiple is required, then the locations under both this territory will appear on the right hand. You can select the locations. If you want to select specific location, you can select specific, or you can click on the all button. So the entire location will be copied, and click on OK button. Select a work center from where we operate in that territory, and then finally save. So in this way you can define a new territory. So the second definition is a market segment definition. As you see in the presentation of the LAKSHYA sales system, the market segment definition means the segments in which all, or the segments where you can sell your products. So you have all the segments predefined. If you want to add a new segment, click on the add button, just type in the name, and then there is something called a product range selection. If it is a general segment, the product range is all, or if it is a specific, that this particular segment is only for some kind of a specific product or property, you can click selected and then select the specific property and add against that. Else, you can just click on the all and just type in the segment name and save. The third definition is a user. The personnel, you have defined the LAKSHYA admin section where the basic username and password is assigned. Now here you want to add them as the users in the sales system. If you want to add him as a user, you can click on the user add observer button. Select the personal name will appear here. Assign him a territory where he is going to operate. Assign him the products which he would be dealing with. If all the products are assigned to him, you can click on all or specific and then finally save that. Once this particular user leaves the organization, you have to open that particular user and uncheck the active box. So the person will no longer be able to log into the system. You can also modify the existing user territory and products by just opening that up. If you want to add more territories, click on the add button, you can add more territories. If you want more products, click on the add button and you can add more products. By default, the entire property will be automatically assigned to all the users which are coming from the website. So apart from that, if you want to add any modifications, you can do it like this. Then there is a definition for competitors, where you can define the competitors, various available competitors in the market. Type in the competitor name, and those in red colors are mandatory, and the properties which they are offering and at what price, and if possible try to capture their address, the contact person who is selling it up, and then finally save that. The next definition would be the sales objective, which I told is the most critical activity in the sales process. Right now we can have as much as objectives. Right now we have two objectives. One is for a property expo specific for the selling effort, and then we have one for the campaign, specifically for campaign. So in this way you can define multiple objective groups. If you want to add a new objective group, you have to click on the add button, specify the name and to which all product groups this particular objective is applicable. All the product groups which we have defined in the LAKSHYA admin, global admin, will appear here. You select that, click on OK button and save. or if you want to make some modification in the existing objective, you can click on the specific objective group, refresh. All the existing objectives will load up. You can also move each objective up and down by clicking on this arrow, down arrow and upward arrow. So right now the objectives have been defined. The first stage is called inquiry and requirement understanding. Second is the property shortlisting. Third is property visit and quote. Fourth is follow-up, negotiation, obtain commitment, collect order, documentation, and occupancy. This is the sequence in which the market need to be approached. If you want to add a new objective, click on add objective, type in the objective name and select the stage where it should fall, and finally save. Suppose you want to add a new stage, you have to go to customize stages, and then here you can define a new stage. Type the name, then under which category. These categories are prefixed, and then the ideal duration, call gap and call limit, which is not mandatory. Ideal duration means within that particular stipulated date you have to make the next call. And also the call gap means the difference between two calls should not be greater than this particular entry. And call limit means in each stage the number of calls that you can make. System won't allow beyond that. So presently we have 4 stage groups, that pre-qualification, qualification, order and post order, and these stages are custom defined. Okay, going back to the sales objective definition. So now there is an option where you can define sub-objectives. Suppose inquiry and requirement understanding, if you want to capture more information like the BHK which he is looking for, whether he is looking for furnished or unfurnished, you can add the sub-objectives under each objective. So you can say property type. And then if you want to make it mandatory, you can mandatorily make it, because once it is made mandatory, the executive need to enter the information. Then the data type, the best thing would be to select string. Editor, you can text edit means they can type in the information, or if you want to say that they have to select from a fixed drop down, you can click on fixed drop down and then type in all the options like fully furnished, click add button, next you can say semi-furnished, add. So this way when the executive logs in and tries to enter the details, he will be prompted with these 2 options. So like this way you can have multiple sub-objectives, you can keep on adding that. The next thing is the deal action, which is a supporting transaction. So right now we have around about 7 deal actions for inquiry. If you click on the refresh button, you can see the various fields assigned against that particular deal action. So here you can see, which I just spoken out, how the objectives and sub-objectives are defined. The similar way the fields in a deal action is defined. If you want to add one more field, you can click on group or field, type in the name, mandatory or not mandatory, the data type, and then the editor. So in this case, if you double click on that, you can see that it's all the categories which has been defined as room or studio, 1 BHK, 2 BHK, 3 BHK, villa or compound, and it's not a mandatory entry. So like this way you can define multiple fields which need to be captured for this particular deal action. Suppose if you are going for advanced collection, the fields might be different. The amount, the payment mode, the instrument details, date and bank. So the system is capable of handling multiple deal actions the way you want to define. If you want to add a new deal action, click on the add button, name the deal action and save it. Once saved, you can click on the deal action, refresh on the right panel, click on the add field button, and you can start adding the fields. The next step is called the deal categories. Right now we have this much category: buy, campaign, commercial buy, commercial rent, lease, rent, web. Web means the inquiries coming from the web. To track all the inquiries coming from the web, you need a different category for that. And now if you want to add a new category, you can click on the add button and just type in the name and save. The next is called the sales call type. Sales call type is nothing but the mode of communication or the mode of making a sales call. It can be a direct visit, it can be an email which is inward, it can be an email which is sent, it can be a telephone call which has come in, it can be a telephone call being made and at WhatsApp. If you have to add a new mode, click on the add button and you can add. The next thing is the role. The role means you have multiple contact person in an environment. For an inquiry, there can be a contact person. If it is an individual buyer, the individual buyer himself will be the contact person. But if it is an organization or a government department, there can be multiple contact person whom you should contact to get the deal done. So there are multiple roles of the people. So each contact person might have a role in that deal. He can be just an agent, he can be a beneficiary, he can be a buyer or consultant or guide. If you want to add more, you can type in. This is selectable in the sales call section. Then another critical aspect which is called decision basis. So these are the various factors which the buyer will consider before buying the property. So right now few have been identified as builder, ease of transport, facilities, internet facility, locality, nearness to school, parking, price and shopping access. If a new factor arrives, you can just click on the add button and type in the new name and save that. Then you have the characteristic definition. This is used to read the mind of the buyer or the prospect. Whenever you are making a call, you need to ascertain certain aspects, what are the characteristics of the person, both positive and negative. Based on this information, you can arrive at a conclusion how to deal that particular person. If you want to add a new characteristic, you can click on the add button, type in the name and select whether it is a positive or a negative character. And then finally save that. Now the next definition is called the target periods. The LAKSHYA admin, the sales admin, will define the target period for the company. You can click on the add button, type in the name of the target and the start period and the end status initially should be open. Once everything has been assigned, it can be turned to locked, and once it is done, the year is complete, you can make it to closed. And then you can select the product or product group for that target period. And against each product or product group, you can either set a quantity, this number of quantity of property need to be sold, leased or rented, or the amount need to be generated out of that particular group for that particular period, and then finally save that. Now this target period can be segregated or can be differentiated into smaller targets like quarter one, monthly, half yearly, like this. So you can click on the add button, type in the name and select the master target period and just save. The coordinator will in turn assign these to each executive. Also, there are few settings need to be done by the admin. Just click on the options. So here there are certain options which need to be set. I'll go to the critical things which need to be done. There is something called under prospect, approve prospect before creating a deal. That means once a deal is been entered by once a prospect is being entered by an executive, whether it need to be approved or not by the coordinator. So if it is set as checked, that means every prospect entered by the executive need to be approved by the coordinator, then only he can proceed with the deal. You can make the changes and then click on the save button. Don't forget to click on the save button. Similarly, whether you want to allow the editing of the prospect, similar thing for the deal, whether deal need to be approved before a sales call is made, or allow editing of deal name. Then there is something called the sales call time interval. That the call time interval, which by default is shown from the start time and end time, is 5 minutes being set. If you want to increase or decrease that, you can do that. Then there is something called number of days up to which the next call can be scheduled. While making each sales call, there is an option where you have to select the next scheduled call. So if you set the limit as 90, the user can't select beyond these days. Similarly, restriction of number of days calls can be registered of past. Suppose you have made a call today and you are not able to enter into the system. The admin can set the limit, the backward limit, up to how much days of backward data can be entered into the system. Right now it's being set to 30. That means 30 days prior calls can be entered. It should be effectively 1 or 2 days. Two days we'll set and then click on the save button. Similar for courtesy call and cold call. So these are the basic definitions which need to be monitored at the admin level of the sales system. Thank you.